So, what's up, everybody? I'm Chris Dailey, founder of the Sports Court, joined here by none other than the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history, which isn't so shabby for a program that's produced the likes of Joe Montana and Heisman winner Johnny Lujack, none other than Ian Book. Ian, thanks so much for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
In your freshman year at Notre Dame, you redshirted, and it was in your sophomore year that you really took Notre Dame by storm. They were coming into the Citrus Bowl against LSU, and you had that big connection with Miles Boykin, and one of the all-time great Notre Dame plays. So what were you thinking after you connected with Miles on that play, and just how did it feel to finally introduce yourself in front of that big Irish fan base?
Yeah, that was a pretty memorable game. Yeah, just being able to go in the end of the first quarter and play the rest of the game. I knew I was going to be able to play that game. They kind of had a little bit of a plan for Wimbush and myself. And once I got in, I was able to do, what I had to do and was able to play the rest of the game, which was pretty cool. But I knew coming down to that last drive, we were starting to click as an offense and just feeling confident. And I knew I've been throwing that back shoulder fade to Miles for feels like forever, but I guess at that point it was only about a year and a half. But he's a long rangy receiver who can go up and pretty much make every catch. So I just threw it up there for him. He made an unbelievable job, and then was able to make both those guys miss. And it was pretty cool moment. That was kind of like my welcome to college football moment. I had a lot of confidence going into that next season after that play for sure.
Yeah, I remember watching that so well, and you had some success with those type of receivers because Chase Claypool too. You would always hit him, and I mean, once I saw you throwing to Chase Claypool, I kind of knew it was a touchdown because he could go up and get those balls. And it was really your third year at Notre Dame, which you just touched on briefly there, where you saw a lot of success. And not many people were sure what to make of the Notre Dame team coming into the season, but you guys sure knew what to make of yourselves, and you proved it on the field. And you took the college football by storm, and you faced Clemson in the semifinals. So overall, how fun was that junior year where you just had such a great season? What made that team gel and just work so well together?
Yeah, you're talking about the team that played Clemson and lost. I think what was the year?
Yeah,
They're starting to combine
junior year. It was.
Yeah, that'd be 2019, I think, right?
Yeah, your third year. I think it was 33 in
My
that
year.
size.
Yeah, it was a good year. I mean, every year at Notre Dame, we have guys stepping up. We always talk about the next man in mentality. That was something that we always talked about at Notre Dame. And every year you lose a lot of guys in the draft, but every year we get guys, really, high recruited players, 4 stars, 5 stars. And we always talk about just being ready for your time to play. So that following year, we had a bunch of guys step up. Our O-line was all returning. All those guys were in my class, feeling really good with them, the chemistry. And then, again, with Chase and just having all those weapons on offense made my job a lot easier. And I think it's what we did throughout the summer. We had summer at Notre Dame that was pretty special in terms of all these workouts we used to do with Coach Matt Bayless. He put us through hell. He really did. But they were all basically just bonding us together, getting us closer as a team, because when those games roll around in the fall, we just felt confident that we could beat anybody. And that was the team that we really started to feel that. Whenever there was a close game, we knew we could pull out on top. We had guys that we've just done everything together. We've gone through the really hard times together through those workouts, and we've done a bunch of team building stuff. So once we came into those games that year, I just felt confident with all of them. We all had the chemistry that year was something that really stood out to me.
Yeah, and that was a great year to watch too. And you're like a magician on the field, and plus the running backs, everybody was just so fast and mobile and really just active that year, and it was really great to see. And the following year, Notre Dame had 2 tough losses to Georgia and Michigan, and it's kind of set back to reality a bit. And then you came back and you had another amazing year in that last year at Notre Dame, where you had that trademark win over the Clemson Tigers, 47-40 in double overtime. I know you probably get asked about this one a lot. It's one of the classics of college football lately. So what resonates with me the most about that game is when you had that loose fumble in the end zone, and many quarterbacks, especially younger quarterbacks in college, that's when they kind of switch off and start making bad and poor decisions. But you kept a level head, and you managed to claw back a win and win that game in overtime. So what was your mindset like throughout that game, especially when you had that fumble? And can you just describe the atmosphere when you won that game?
Yeah. Another great game. That was something I remember early in the week. There's a pretty special moment that week where I just remember stepping back for a little bit and looking around at the team and just felt like that was like one of the times in college football that I felt our whole entire locker room, whole entire building believe that we were going to beat the number one team in the country. And that doesn't happen everywhere. And I feel like that's something pretty cool about Notre Dame. We just had a bunch of guys that were bought in. And I just felt like we were going to win that game before it even happened. Just with everybody's like demeanor. Everyone was truly bought in. It was a really special feeling. Felt so good going into that game. And then we knew it was going to be a hard-fought battle. I thought I was going to score. I 100% thought I was about to run into the end zone. Guy made a really good play and knocked the ball out. And things happen. That's kind of been something I've tried to just been a big thing I've always thought about throughout my career is whenever there's a bad play, just forget about it and move on. And I remember going to the sideline and everybody was encouraging me like, you're going to be fine. And I just had a little moment where I was like, in one ear and out the other, forget about it. So felt really good and just kept fighting that whole entire game, kept fighting. Came down to the last few plays. And I mean, we're basically storming the field during the pandemic, something I'll never forget. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I asked Leprechaun Connell Fagan about that. He's got the thick Irish accent. I was just texting him before this, and he had some good words to say about that, especially as Leprechaun. He's right there, cheering you guys on, and that was a phenomenal game, and definitely one of the all-time classics in college football lately. And later that season, you had that game against Alabama, and you did everything you could on the field, and you really left it out there, but the Fighting Irish lost to the eventual national champions. But you left Notre Dame as an all-time great, which is not easy to be in a program that has such prestige with the likes of Johnny Lujack, who I've been in touch with. He's a big name in my family, and Joe Montana. And I asked you this immediately after the press conference in that Rose Bowl with my squeaky little voice back in the day a couple of years ago. And I'll ask it again. What does that University of Notre Dame program mean to you, both on and off the field?
That means everything. I remember taking a leap of faith in a way by leaving the West Coast. Always thought I was going to play in the Pac-12, and decided I wanted to challenge myself both in the classroom and on the field by going to Notre Dame and just going to the Midwest, being so far away from family and taking that risk. And it just it's really been the biggest and best decision of my life thus far. I met all my friends and had some unbelievable memories. Was able to sketch my name, I guess, a little bit in some of these record books, which is pretty cool. But at the end of the day, it's about the relationships and the guys that I've met. And those are my best friends to this day. And I love seeing all those guys on Sundays on whatever team they're on. And to my other guys who are now working at big companies or starting their own businesses, we're all in touch. And that's what it's about at Notre Dame. And just the memories, the teammates, the workouts, and just the relationships with all the guys I've met, either in my class or younger or older. Pretty special because those are guys that have gone through the same things as me, and now that we're getting older, we have all these cool stories to tell. But it's been Notre Dame's been everything for me, and I just am excited and feel very blessed to be a part of that cool fraternity, I guess you could call it, being a Notre Dame grad. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you mentioned starting other businesses. I always see Yoke Gaming. That's one of the big ones. All those guys playing video games there, so it's pretty cool. And in the 2021 NFL Draft, you were picked up in the 4th round by the New Orleans Saints, and it was by all means a whirlwind year for the Saints with Jamie's going down in the beginning and then the quarterback shuffle going on, which included you getting your first start. And obviously it wasn't an ideal situation. A lot of guys, over 25 guys out with COVID and injuries. But overall, just how did it feel to get your feet out there and just get that check off in starting your first ever NFL game?
Yeah, another dream and goal that I've been able to accomplish. I've always wanted to be one of the 32 quarterbacks to start a game on. Mine happened to be Monday Night Football, which was pretty cool. But look, you got to play the cards that you're dealt. And that night, like you said, we had 25 guys out with COVID. It is what it is. And I just wanted to go out there and have fun. I wanted to be tough. I wanted to just go out there and do what I've always wanted to do. Whatever the circumstances were, whether that's starting a game with everybody or starting a game with a lot of guys out on both sides of the ball. But that's kind of the world that we live in now with COVID, and just you gotta do what you gotta do. But I had fun. Obviously, it was a long night for a lot of us, but it's still something I'm going to remember forever. I'm taking all the positives from it. Feel really good going into next year, being able to at least play one game, and just got a lot of confidence that I'm building on. But it was a rough night. But honestly, if you watch film or if there's any camera angles, I'm smiling. I'm having a good time with those guys, and it was a long year, where I was just watching, but I wanted to be ready, and I went out there and gave it my all for the team. But again, I feel really good about it going into next year. Definitely like a confidence builder.
Yeah, definitely. It's always great to start an NFL game. Most people can only dream of that, so it's definitely amazing there. And
Right.
after the season, Sean Payton recently stepped down from coaching for a bit, and the Saints have hired a new coach, Dennis Allen, who served as a defensive coordinator. So, for starters, what did Coach Payton teach you about the quarterback position in your lone season of having him? And then, secondly, for Dennis Allen, I know he was a defensive coordinator, but what's your relationship with him like, and how forward are you looking to having him as your new head coach?
Yeah, it was a great year with Sean. I didn't even know. I didn't. I don't think a lot of us knew that Sean was going to retire. But we're happy for him. I know he's got other goals that he wants to accomplish, and shoot, you never know. A lot of these coaches get back into football, so I might see him again. But learned a lot from him, especially just the way he prepares. That's something that really stood out to me. He's a grinder, and his memory is unbelievable. He remembers plays from 10 years ago, and he can pull it up in a second. But he was nice to me. He was really good to me. I think, especially after the Miami game with everything that was going on, he came up to me and said, you're one tough dude, and those are just, again, kind of like I said, those are the cards that I was dealt that night. It is what it is. But he was cool to me all year. We were able to joke and laugh through the hall, through some things. He was always in the quarterback meetings, and I texted him, told him, congrats on retirement and thanks for everything, and he was able to respond and write me a nice note. So I appreciate him for being a part of getting me to the Saints, and hopefully I see him again soon. But I had a great relationship with him. It was cool and it was fast. But again, now with Dennis, with Coach Allen, excited for him. I think he's definitely one who's ready for the job. He's a defensive guy. I've talked to him a few times here and there, but I know what he does with that defense and keeping them all accountable, and just the way that they play is something special. So I'm excited for him to take what he's done with those defensive guys and do that for the whole team.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking forward to watching that as well because you guys really had a great season last year. And obviously, didn't make the playoffs, but it was definitely a good season to build on. And I'm a Giants fan, so it's been tough for us. And I feel like getting a couple of wins is a good season nowadays. But anyways, speaking of coaches, your old coach Brian Kelly, has followed your footsteps and moving to Louisiana as he took the job at LSU, kind of copying you a tiny bit. So have you been in touch with him, and have you met up with him at all? Now that you're both in the same area.
Yeah, so I sent him the same text, kind of joking with him. I said, "Coach, you're following me, and we're now welcome to the boot, basically." But excited for him. I knew. Shoot, he had I think he has the longest run as a head coach at Notre Dame. I didn't know if he was going to retire, what was next, but he obviously got a pretty sweet deal at LSU. So I'm excited for him. I told him congrats and thanks, and he actually texted me and said, "Just got down to Louisiana. Heard you're going to be starting. I saw your first game as a starter at Notre Dame. Now I want to see your first game in the NFL." So he had a box at the game, so he was able to come, which was pretty cool. So next thing for me would be I'll try to get over to LSU. I've never been and meet some of those guys, maybe talk to their quarterbacks is what he told me he might want me to do. So I would love to go up there and see it. But I'm happy for him. I'm excited. I think he'll be able to do what he did at Notre Dame and win a lot. That's what he does.
Yeah, that's awesome. And LSU, they have a pretty loaded quarterback room right now. A lot of 5-stars right there. And Ian, just off the field, just to get to know Ian Book and just find out who Ian Book is, who's your biggest role model and why?
I would say my biggest role model is probably my dad. If we're just talking not sports or anything, just role model in general is probably my dad. Just the way he does everything, the hard work that he's put in, the toughness, and that's kind of what he taught my brother and I from a really, really young age is toughness and grit and just being a good person. So he's someone that I always look up to, always take his advice. He's always led me in the right direction in everything. So he's definitely my biggest role model.
Yeah, and just, coming out you with these philosophical questions real quick, but just to wrap up right here, what is your why and just why do you do what you do?
Oh, man, that's a great question. My why is I always say I try to prove people right. I guess you could always wrap that into my why. I think back in the old day, I used to say, like, I try to prove these people wrong. And then I remember, and I got to college, I heard someone say something about proving somebody right. And I just flipped my philosophy. And I was like, I want to start proving the people that believe in me, the people that are in my small circle, I want to prove those people right. That would be my why. I don't don't need to prove anybody wrong. Those people that aren't believing that I can do something probably aren't the people I want in my life anyways. You know what I mean? So the people that believe me, I want to prove them right for everything that they've done in my life, whatever way they've contributed, and that would be my way to give back to them. I just want to do those things for. I always say I have a small circle. I got those people that believe in me. Those are the people I want to prove right. So that would be my why, proving people right.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's a really great thing to live by. Really making me think right here. And just to just to wrap up real quick, and this is the question I was thinking about because that's the question I want to end on. But how do you say New Orleans? You say because now that you're in New Orleans, this is a hot topic I've seen on the internet a bit. Is it New Orleans or New Orleans?
Yeah, it's New Orleans is what I've heard. I wasn't going to correct you, but I got a lot of people that say New Orleans.
Yeah.
When I first got there, I had someone say it's New Orleans. It's New Orleans, not New Orleans. So then I was like, okay. So now every time I hear someone, I say New Orleans. And if you really have an accent, it basically sounds like New Orleans, and it's just kind of one word. So I'm learning that as well. But hey, it's up to you. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate this, and it's been a fantastic interview. And I'm a big Notre Dame guy. My whole family is, and I mentioned Johnny Lujack a couple times, and he's, as you probably know, a Heisman winner. And I was in touch with his family because my grandfather, he's met everybody. He's met Muhammad Ali, Mother Teresa, like everybody, all of his role models he's met except Johnny Lujack. So I got in touch with the family over at the Lujacks, his grandson, and I got his granddad and my granddad in touch, and that's just been amazing. And Notre Dame's such a big part of my life, and I really am happy that I could do this interview. You're definitely one of my dream interviews. I've done a lot. I've done Shaquille O'Neal, many big guys, and Ian, definitely one of the favorite ones. So I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this, and just appreciate it so much.
No problem, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Keep rooting on the Irish, and thanks for the interview, man. I appreciate it. Keep going. Sure. Keep working hard. Keep getting these interviews in.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.